A milder week ahead, but we see the return of cloud, wind and rain. I'll have all the details of that and more coming up on Good Morning Britain. Dean, let's find out what's happening with the weather. Laura's here with all the details. Morning, Laura. Now, parts of the country here have had snow, but when you look at what's happening elsewhere in the world, it's causing real issues, isn't it? It pales into insignificance some of the winter wonderland scenes we've seen in the UK. Japan have had an unprecedented amount of snow over the last 72 hours. They've seen a brief respite from things that have been going on there lately, but it was crazy what happened. They had the lowest temperature Spain has ever recorded. They had torrential rain on the Costa del Sol, 4 months worth of rainfall in just 3 days. But on the other side of it, in Malta, their temperatures were way above average. Now, this cold, you can see digging down here, is still battling in through eastern areas of the country. But for many of us today, it is cloudier, it is milder, wetter and windier. In fact, we are waking up frost-free for the first time in a long time. Clouds engulf the country. It's that acts like a blanket, keeping in the heat that was gained. But we see rain arriving through Scotland, and it moves into northern England, Northern Ireland, North Wales, the Midlands, and slips its way southwards as we head through the day. So if you are heading out today, you will need to get some wet weather gear, grab an umbrella because you are likely to need it. Temperature-wise, we are looking at 8 to 10 degrees, so much milder than it's been. But that cold never far away, just for the north of Scotland there. 3 or 4 degrees, and that's where we still see the risk of some sleet and snow. So the battleground is set mild for today, but it's set to turn colder. There's still a chance of some snow, Charlotte, but nothing as heavy as they've seen in Japan and Spain. Unfortunately, I'm sad.
Well, yeah, but probably just as well. I mean, that's extreme snow, isn't it? Thanks very much, Laura.
Now, good morning to you. There is a lot happening with the week ahead. Last week, it was high pressure. It was cold. It was frosty. This week, the Atlantic tries to battle back, and it makes some progress. It brings with it cloud, wind and rain, but the cold air from the near continent still stays with us, so a battleground is set up, and that means there's still the chance of seeing some sleet, some snow, even some freezing rain as we head through this week. But for today, it's a cloudy one, and because of the cloud, it is much milder than it's been for the last few mornings, so largely frost-free this morning, thanks to this huge blanket of cloud that engulfs the country. But it brings with it rain as well. We start off with a wet day through Scotland. The cold air for the far north there brings with it some snowfall, and all of that rain slips southwards as we head through the day. It gets towards the London area around about this evening. But look at these temperatures, double digits for the first time in a long time, but that cold air still stays there to the north. So let's take a look at this battleground for the next 7 days, where our weekend remains always in view. Scotland, Northern Ireland, the far north of England. We have a real rollercoaster ride with our temperatures. Today, it is clear to see it is above average. It turns much colder tomorrow as that weather front slips southwards, and then our temperatures hover around or below average. But from west to east across Scotland, for example, a big difference in our temperatures between, say, 3 in the east and up to 10 in the west. Percentage chance of rainfall, again, high today, much lower, drier, colder tomorrow, high again for Wednesday, but the outlook doesn't look too bad. A lot of dry weather to be had. Here's the fortunes further south for England and Wales. South of the Humber, again, it is looking mild today. And actually, we're on the milder side of the battleground further south as we head through the working week into the weekend. It looks set to turn colder. Percentage chance of rainfall, it is really hit and miss because it's very different, particularly from west to east. Low today, but it turns much wetter overnight tomorrow. Daytime hours, it doesn't look too bad. More rain to come on Wednesday, but the battleground looks as though it's dry. The wind's out as we head into the weekend. Good morning to you. We start a new week with new weather. It was cold last week, frosty, icy, and yes, some beautiful scenes of snow and winter wonderlands. But this week, the Atlantic battles back. What does that mean? Cloud, wind and rain queuing up, making some progress most days as we head through this week. Not a washout, but the wettest day of the week definitely looks like Wednesday. But for the time being, for today, a lot of cloud around with wet and windy weather moving its way in from the north. First thing, we start off frost-free. You will notice when you step outside this morning, temperatures are way above where they were last week, 4 or 5 degrees for many of us. So still a chill in the air, but not that biting frost. But rain arrives in Scotland, and this hits the cold air. We have a divide. To the north of that, it's still cold enough for the snow, but south of that, it will just be falling as rain. Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England, Wales, the Midlands, cloudy, wet and increasingly windy this afternoon. It gets to the far south as we head through this evening. But look at these temperatures, double digits for the first time in a long time. For the weather where you are. Welcome back to Good Morning Britain. The weather today is much milder, it turns wetter and windy, and actually a very different looking week ahead. It is milder for many of us because the Atlantic has weather fronts queuing up and they are set to spread across the country as we head through the next few days. One moves through today. We start off cloudy, overcast grey, but much milder, frost-free compared to the last week or so. But the rain that's in Scotland to the north of it, cold enough for snow. But then we see this wet weather slipping its way southwards through the day, heavy, especially in the west, turning wet in the southeast later. For the weather where you are in detail.